Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today will be a double feature as we're taking a look at two action figures from the DC Multiverse. We have the Batman and we have Catwoman. Both of these figures are from the upcoming film. So let's get started. Okay, so as of this video, it's February 4th, 2022. I purchased these figures the other day at my local Walmart. If you're one of those people that hunts down action figure reviews on YouTube, chances are you've probably already seen like a dozen of these reviews reviewing these action figures. So I'm not really covering any new ground. Like I said, there's a lot of reviews on these two figures already. So for me, I just want to share this experience right now as I unbox them. I'm excited for the film. I have reservations about the film. I'm excited about these characters and these action figures, but at the same time, I also have reservations about these action figures. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But let's get started. Let's first start off with Catwoman. So this is Catwoman as she appears in the new movie. The costume looks nice. The first thing that came to mind when I picked up this figure is that how much this reminds me of that recent Hasbro Fortnite figure. I think it's what's her name again? I think it's called Lynx, and it almost looks like a black cat figure. I reviewed it, maybe like a month ago. So this figure just kind of reminds me of that. I kind of wish they released a figure that came without the mask. Like, I'd prefer it much more if it was just actually like Zoe Kravitz. But this is McFarlane's way of double dipping. They always want us to buy the repaints. They always want us to like buy the maskless versions. And I know that they're really pissing fans off because a lot of these figures feature that stupid side eye where the character's eyes, they're not painted straight on. They look like they're looking out to the corner of their eye, and it annoys like everybody. So yeah, what we have here is Catwoman. There's the Batman logo. Really nice fig photography. I think I was kind of against the fig photography to begin with because I like the comic book artwork. But it seems like the further they move on, the fig photography just keeps on getting better and better. Some other action figures that are available are the Batman, there's the Penguin, the Riddler, and then the new Bat Cycle. Alright, so let's take out Catwoman. Alright, so, first impressions of Catwoman. We have the trading card with a stand. The figure looks nice. I don't like the helmet. I don't like the I was gonna say helmet, but I don't like the masked head. It looks excessively bulky. And we do have our whip tail accessory here. Let's carefully take this out. Alright, so we have the Catwoman. It's played by actress Zoe Kravitz. Like I said, I would have preferred it if I actually had a figure with Zoe Kravitz's head versus this thing here. Immediately, I'm very impressed with the texture of the costume. There's a nice texture throughout her uniform. There's some ribbed sections, some speckled sections. It almost looks like she has a thong. Yeah, so you could tell that a man designed this costume. So, yeah, there's her thong. I don't know. It's just weird. Um, I don't like the head. Right off the bat, I don't like the head, and it has nothing to do with the side eye. I could kind of live with the side eye. I don't prefer it, but let's get this in focus first before we talk about this. My camera does not want to focus on this figure. All right, there we go. Yeah, so I don't like the head at all. I could live with the side eye because her brow and her mask casts a shadow over her eyes, and from a distance, I'm not going to see it. But I don't like the mask because it's excessively bulky. It looks too thick on her head. I do like the folds. The folds toward the mouth look very realistic, and the paint application is nice, and the texturing on the mask is nice, but it just looks a little thick on her head. And to be honest, I'm not fond of this costume design. I think it's kind of generic. Like, Batman's costume looks super awesome. This one, like, I get it. She's a cat burglar. She doesn't need, like, super high-tech armor or anything, but I had no problem with her iconic, plain costume. And even some of the other film versions of her costume, like whether it's the Michelle Pfeiffer one from Batman Returns or even the Halle Berry Catwoman outfit. I kind of like those a lot. All right, so the figure's nice. The sculpting's great. All right, so where do we... Okay, so this is her whip. And I wasn't sure if... I always get confused between Black Cat and Catwoman, because one of them... I think it's one of them wears their whip around their waist like a belt. And at first I thought this would plug in somewhere, so I'm like looking at her butt, wondering where to plug this in, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think this plugs into her butt at all. All right, in terms of articulation, her head rotates left and right. She could look down a little bit. She could look... she doesn't want to look up. The more I try to push her head back, her mask is hitting the back of her neck, so it's kind of a shame. I would like for her to be able to look up a little bit more. So, if you want, you can, like, create her in, like, some sort of diving pose. She has a cut below her chest, which allows for a swivel. And I think you can tilt a little also. No waist articulation that I can speak of. In terms of her arms, they rotate. They go out. They go out. It's weird. There's this giant... the giant ball joint's, like, exposed. So it looks fine when her arms are down in a neutral position, but the further you raise her arms, it's like it looks horrible. It's like she's hiding grapefruits underneath her shirt. I think there would have been an easier way to do it, like maybe if they like sculpted in like lat muscles or something, but yeah, it looks weird. It's like she has grapefruits under her shirt. It's like she snuck into like a supermarket and she's like stealing grapefruits and she like hides them under her outfit. Her arms, double pinned elbows. Her wrists are articulated. Her legs kick up about this much. They kick out. Her knees, double jointed. I'm kind of surprised that these aren't pinless, to be honest, because there's some McFarlane figs that are pinless. There's some that aren't. Now we come to her ankles, and I hate this. There's so many McFarlane figures where the ball joint, whether for the wrist or the ankle, is just completely exposed. So it's just a completely circle round ball between her leg and her foot. And a piece of plastic just broke off. So, don't know what that's from. Yeah, so right now I have mixed feelings about this figure. There's stuff I really like. There's stuff that annoys me. I'm trying to get her foot to be centered. Also, it's not happening. All right, there we go. And she has toe articulation, extreme toe articulation. All right, so that's the Catwoman. If I had to rate this figure on a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know. My first thought was a 7, 7.5. What would help more is if she didn't have that problem with her eye. I can't even tell if her eyes are side eyes. Yeah, it's kind of weird. The camera's not going to catch it on mine. One of her eyes is looking straight at me, and the other one's kind of looking towards her nose. So her eyes aren't perfectly. No, I take it back. Mine's doing the side eye thing. Yeah, okay, that bothers me. All right, so yeah, 7.5 at the highest. I think what holds it back for me is articulation. Like, all right, I could do without the mask, but since this is what we're getting, I'll take that as it is. But for me, I kind of wish her head would tilt back further. I'm not keen on when you raise her arms and you get this horrible, like, giant ball joint underneath. That looks terrible. I don't like the exposed ankles either. I'd expect this from some, like, the McFarlane figs from maybe like a year or two ago, but, with some of the action figures we've been getting lately, they're really making leaps and bounds, and this feels like a step backwards. Otherwise, the sculpting's great. It's a nice figure. It's just not spectacular. And I'm sure once they re-release this with like a maskless version, I'll probably jump on board and get that. Yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on this figure. I'm just, just being a little bit realistic. There's stuff I do like about this. There's stuff I don't like. It's the only Catwoman figure from the movie. So for now, if you want the full set, and I kind of feel like if I have a Batman figure, I need a Catwoman figure. So, yeah, Catwoman. Okay, let's talk about Bruce Wayne. He's played by actor Robert Pattinson. I'm all on board with having Robert Pattinson play Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think when they first announced him, I think there was some mixed reaction. For me, I had no doubt that the guy can act. Like, I've seen other movies besides Harry Potter and Twilight. One movie of his that I really liked, I think it was called The Rover. I think he was starring opposite of, like, I want to say, it might have been Pierce Brosnan. And if I remember correctly, that movie, he was kind of like this burnt out, like, young adult, and he was trying to find his way in the world and trying to understand what it meant to be a man. And then when he came across Pierce Brosnan, Pierce Brosnan's always badass. I think there was like a lot of life lessons to be learned in that movie for his character. And for me, that's when I really felt that he had some really solid acting chops. Most people just know him from like Twilight or him playing Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter. But if you look throughout his catalog of films, he's done some impressive work. So I had no doubt that he could play Batman. And here we have the Batman. As seen in the new movie. Immediately, I think this is a great looking costume. It's really continuing that modern tradition where Batman's costume isn't spandex. It's this body armor. And there's something about this that kind of reminds me a little bit of the Arkham video games. And I believe that's his grapple gun over here. I'm going to leave that in the package for now. It's kind of small. Don't want to accidentally drop it and lose it. Again, trading card, fig stand. Alright, let's get the Batman out of his plastic tray. Okay, so we have the Robert Pattinson Batman from the upcoming film. One thing that kind of threw me off, now this has nothing to do with the figure, but one thing that kind of threw me off about this character's the costume design is that for me it's odd that Batman has a collar on his costume, and it's also weird that for his mask, like normally his mask covers a lot farther into his cheek, but for this one it is pulled further back almost to where the point where his ear is. So every time I saw him in the trailers or the commercials, his mask just seems a little bit off for me. But I kind of understand now why they designed his cowl and mask the way that they did. So the other day I was on a work call for work, and we were doing it was like a complete like team meeting with everyone at the office, and we're all meeting over Zoom since we were working remotely. And I like to play like pranks and stuff like that. And yesterday's work meeting, I wore my Batman mask, and my Batman mask covers like my cheeks, much like it does in the other films. And then I had the hardest time just trying to move my mouth because my face is pretty much covered up by that mask, and especially around my jaw and cheeks. So now I kind of understand why his face is a little bit more open on this costume versus like the previous costumes like the Ben Affleck or the Christian Bale mask, because having the cheeks exposed this much, it allows the actor to actually like be more expressive with their facial motions. So I don't know, that's kind of threw me off that his mask is a little bit redesigned. But the costume, I can tell you right now, it looks great. The sculpting on this is awesome. And with my OCD, when I found this figure at Walmart, I want to say they might have had 5 of these in stock, and I went through every one of them trying to find the best one. 2 of the ones I saw, their ears were like completely bent. One of them, the paint application on his lips was really sloppy, and this one was pretty much almost flawless. The points on his ears were nice and straight. His face was painted good. So this was like, for me at least, it was nice to find this guy, but find one in nice condition. The great thing with this figure though is that like a lot of Batman figures is that if you're into fig photography, this guy is very, very photogenic. For example, you catch this guy in the right shadows, and that looks so realistic, his face. The way the shadows are casted on him and the sculpting, it's superb. And in this guy's case, I can't even tell if he has the side eye issue. I think he might, but yeah, mine is looking off to the side just a little bit. But it doesn't bother me too much because his brow is so overhanging his eyes that this casts a shadow over his eyes, so you don't really see it that much. But yeah, look at that sculpting. That head looks amazing. Likewise, the armor is really well done. Yeah, it's a great figure. Even if you're not keen on the movie or whatnot, this is just a great Batman figure to look at. Yeah, there's so much about this that kind of reminds me of the video games. Okay, so here's the front of Batman. Really well done. The utility belt looks great. It's also a very utilitarian design. Everything here looks to be very functional. He has a hook here for his grappling gun. Lots of pouches. He has the 3 fins on his gauntlet. I don't know what these are. They look like small arrows or darts. He has shoulder pads up here. His body, at least his top half, is completely encased in body armor. He has a holster here. So from what I remember, I think the holster here actually holds his grapple gun. He has knee pads and the boots, thicker soled. The cape's very realistic. The folds are nice. And the cape's also very even. I think with like a lot of the McFarlane figures, I've pointed out this in the past. For some reason, like, I don't know why they do it, but whoever designs the capes with the figures, every now and then they'll make one end dip a lot lower than the other, you know, so it's a little bit more asymmetrical. This cape seems a little bit more even, a little bit more symmetrical, which is nice. It's much more neutral. All right, in terms of this guy's articulation, his head rotates left and right. Could he look down? Not so much. It's more so just looking forward. He does not want to look up that much either. I think at least for me, this is as far back as I could get him. He has a cut underneath his chest line, above his abdomen, so it allows for swivel movement, and he can in this, like, you know, boogie a little. I want to say there's articulation at his waist, except mine's a little bit stiff, so I'd want to force it if it's not meant to move. His arms rotate, but unfortunately, oh no, I take it back. Okay, his arms do rotate. You just have to make sure that the shoulder pad tucks underneath the cape. His arms go out, but the shoulder pad kind of wants to fold in under the cape again. He can swivel at the bicep. Double pinned elbows. He has wrist articulation, and the ball joint's pretty well hidden. He has a hole on the inside of his palm here. I'm not sure if that's for the grapple gun. It might be. His legs can kick up about this much. You can do the splits about that far. Double jointed knees, ankle articulation, and extreme toe articulation. So yeah, very solid figure. First thoughts, if I were to rate this guy, appearance-wise, I want to give this guy a 9. I think it looks amazing. In terms of articulation, I don't know, maybe a solid 8, you know. I kind of wish his head could tilt back more. But, you know, this guy's covered in so much body armor and with the cape. You know, it kind of restricts his movement just a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a very solid figure. I think of, you know, some of the Batman figures. We got a lot of Batman figures, but I think this one is actually, you know, worth the purchase. Just because it's based off the new film. And it just looks great. Even if you're not on board with the new film, I think it's a fun figure to add. You know, you gotta say it's like, you know, a proxy for some other version of Batman, like, I don't know, like future Batman or something. Speaking of which, I think the base body, if you were into customs, I think this would make a great base body for, like, you know, maybe like Arkham Knight, or like a Batman Beyond, or like if you want to create some crazy version of the Red Hood. I think this body armor is pretty neat. And over here we have Catwoman, just to give you a sense of size and scale. So actress Zoe Kravitz, I think she stands in real life at about maybe like 5 feet 2 inches or 5 feet 3 inches. I'm not sure how tall Robert Pattinson is, but this gives you an idea of the size difference. Batman's a much taller and larger figure. And saying that and handling that, you know, I really feel like I'm getting my money's worth with something like this. You know, you're paying like $19 to $20 for an action figure. This guy feels solid. He's a little bit more, a lot heftier, a lot bigger. And then you hold something like this and you're paying the same amount of money. It's kind of like, I kind of feel like I should have paid like $12 for this one just because it's so small. So there they are. It's the happy couple. And we can have them hold hands, you know. All right, so with that being said, once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I will talk to you at the next one. All right, later.